What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the frolicking fucking idiot here, and we're back with episode 92 of the video game therapy series. Yeah, let's get right into it. Today, I'm in a bit of a conspiratorial mood. I'm not really sure what that means, but I don't know. It's it's always weird to try and even to entertain conspiracies because I mean, as a logical man, it wouldn't make sense that no conspiracy ever stated ever was like they're all wrong, right? Obviously you would call them conspiracies because a lot of them are mostly misguided and or morons. But inevitably, I mean, even we've seen this that there are things that again started as like this wacko conspiracies and then end up being okay. Well, it's just not a conspiracy. It's just kind of true. That there was some kind of second order story. Because the first order story is, I guess, what like so kind of the Occam's razor, easiest, the skim off the top. What happened? What do we? What's the most obvious thing? But then the second order is like where this conspiracy begins. And surely there are stories that are most accurately depicted. They're depicted correctly as like a second order story, kind of one meta layer of abstraction of a story. Thus, it starts as a conspiracy. And so surely not all like things that start as conspiracies or can be considered conspiracies at some point are wholly wrong, but obviously it is incredibly stupid to believe all of them and to think everything. And like even the conspiracies are only part of a greater conspiracy. And like there's this, larger, third level story where there's the conspiracy is actually part of the conspiracy, because then you can just keep going, as turtles all the way down kind of conspiratorial thinking. So there's just, and I think it's more difficult now to really have nuance and seeing what's a first order, second order, third order. And I'm kind of using those as kind of layers of abstraction. So, like one is like, the first layer is like kind of the obvious, I don't know, planes fly in the air, first. And then like the second order is like planes fly, but it's like, magical CIA something. And then it's like third order is like the entire plane is all simulated. I mean, I don't know. You can like go through different levels of abstraction on what conspiracies are. I mean, obviously it's a really dumb example. And surely most things kind of fall under the first order category where kind of what the obvious answer is or what kind of the clear answer is or what kind of the accepted answer is probably the right one. It's surely not everything can be a conspiracy, but I think it's also just as foolish, because there's risk involved with ever entertaining even a conspiracy. But it's just as foolish to think that there's never any other, like there's no such thing as a true like secondary story where like there's never any kind of cover up. There's never like conspiracies just don't exist. I think that's just as foolish as thinking everything is a conspiracy. So I don't know. Again, there's just nuance to be had with all of it. And you always risk kind of looking like a moron if you believe in any kind of conspiracy. And I guess there was certainly a point in my life where I was like, I didn't think any of them existed. They're just all wrong. There's no such thing as a conspiracy. It's like, whatever the kind of accepted truth is, the kind of, it's like at a certain point it was conspiracy that like, cigarettes cause cancer, because people were just dumb or something and, or just, weren't educated, dumb, whatever. They were, they lacked the education to know, and they weren't skeptical enough to think that there's, something wrong with that. And of course the conspiracy ended up being the truth. Now it's like, we don't consider that conspiracy because it's known to be true, but it's only after the fact. Like there was a point in time where you were a conspiracy theorist if you believed that cigarettes cause cancer because, the doctor, he's a doctor. Why wouldn't you listen to him? So it's like, obviously you can't go around not trusting any doctor now because, some doctor at some point lied. It's a really dumb reason to never believe doctors ever again. Because there was a doctor at one point that said cigarettes are fine. But at the same time, there's not everything has like, is backed by big pharma and is all this conspiracy. Surely there's an amount of that. It's a non-zero amount of conspiracy, so to speak. But it's not a 100th amount of conspiracy either. And it's probably not 50, it's not split down the middle where you could pick, flip a coin, any other, every other thing you hear is probably a conspiracy, But there are certain things that I just kind of have to go out on a limb and believe what I believe, and even if it is falls under the realm of conspiratorial thinking, it's fine. It's not. You're really only sacrificing, you know, priceless social capital. Really, it's not. Who cares really what they think? But I think where I became a little more open to, I'll say conspiracy of any time, but not even really conspiracies because some of them aren't. Was I mean with technology, because that's kind of what I learned about. That's where I spent time, educating and trying to learn about. Um, because it sounded like conspiracy. Oh, your phone can spy on you. The big tech companies know where you are. It's like no, no, they don't. It's like why would they? Like no, they're good actors. They make good products. And then of course, like again, not even it's literally not a. They do know. There is obviously a lot of malintent. Algorithms are not built for like that's not a conspiracy anymore. Like, but at one point it was. And you would have been called a conspiracy theorist saying that the machines are manipulating us, because they are. They literally are. There's not any other. And I guess if you really still believe that there's not malice going on in terms of algorithmically generated content, and there's not, your phone doesn't have control over you in some vague sense, like it can't influence your behavior. Like if you don't think that your phone or your online usage can influence your behavior, you're a fucking moron. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist for believing that the algorithms that you watch, or that whatever the shows you watch and things don't have influence on you. You're a fucking idiot. And I don't really know what to tell you, really. Like if you don't think the media you consume has influence on your behavior, you're retarded. There's just not, I don't have any other way to rational, like other than you're an idiot. Like if you think there's just no, it's like saying your diet has nothing to do with your physique. It's like, I don't know how do I even argue with you at that point? Like, cause you're so, I want to just say stupid, but I don't even know what would it take. It's like, no, you can, I don't even know what the rationale is to not believe that. Like, of course, whatever, like the things you consume, the stuff you read, the videos you watch, even the music you listen to, that has influence on your behavior. I don't know how you would argue that it wouldn't. Of course it does, right? And it's like, no, it's like, but then, so how do you even shape who you are without, like your inputs shape your outputs, and ultimately it shapes, the same way the inputs would, to a machine learning or a neural network would shape, the weights of the neural network and how it would respond to inputs. You respond a lot of the same way, like the experiences you grew up with. No one would argue against like being raped as a child wouldn't have adverse effects on adulthood. Obviously it would, because that was input. That was input of a certain kind. Now it was traumatic. But, do you think, benign input like listening to podcasts or watching movies or reading books also doesn't have influence on your, just because it isn't traumatic, it's like it doesn't affect how you think and what you believe? Like, no, of course it does. Obviously it does. So I think being intelligent about what you are viewing or reading, or not only in terms of the amount, right? But even like the content of it in general. Like I've been very critical of Marvel movies. It's just I think they're stupid, but I think I'll explain. I think they're stupid because they paint such an inaccurate portrayal of the world, like as if there's a just universe and good people get what they deserve and bad people don't. Right? There's the bad person's always obvious. Good is done clearly and bad is done behind doors. Like, unfortunately, the world is not set up that way. It's not. The good people don't always get what they deserve. Most of them don't. They just die, or they end up, they could get fucked. It doesn't. It's not a fair and just system. I think watching the movies leads you to, again, implicitly or explicitly believe in like this just universe where the world will come around and will benefit you. And I think it's helpful in general. It's not to say you should be only the evil people win. And like the universe does have kind of an ironic sense of humor at times where, in both ways, it's almost kind of a random sense of humor that, we can extrapolate as ironic because, we have that amount of analysis. But whether it's random or not, whether it is predetermined, it doesn't seem, the good people don't always get what they deserve and the bad people don't always either. Sometimes they do. And I think there is benefit to believing that. Like, I'm not saying that Marvel movies are wholly bad because, they like, well, we shouldn't reward good. We shouldn't reward good or punish evil. Like, we should, obviously. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but to think that it's I think you're just giving people false hope and to think that that's always how it works, right? And even when things pragmatically are, it's a dumb idea to keep thinking that it'll work out because you're on the quote unquote good side. It doesn't work that way. And there's also, I think it always portrays this really stupid picture of what an evil person or what an evil person looks like it does, or even the motives of an evil person. You know, it's always like something inherently selfish or something. And a lot of times it's not, evil isn't even malicious, right? It's not like, you know, because I look at somebody like, I don't know, Sam Bankman-Fried or somebody, or even a lot of these tech people, like they're not like openly malicious actors, right? Where I think even like Hitler kind of thought that he was doing the right thing, you know, or even that like maybe the alternative would be worse, right? If I didn't do these atrocities, somebody else would have done worse, and so I'm doing the world a favor by doing this, which is an insane rationalization for any kind of that behavior. And not saying that that's what we should assign to that morally, but to think that like, you know, I don't know, Sam Altman or Sundar Pichai or anyone, any of the big tech billionaires that are kind of ruining the world, or at least ruining the internet. The world kind of exists separately from the internet, in my opinion, but nowadays they seem one and the same. But to think that they're not malicious, they think like they have kids, they're nice. Most of them, I'm sure, there's probably some pedophiles, obviously. there's a percentage that are truly evil people, but I bet if I had a beer with one of them, I wouldn't be like, this person is evil, we should kill him. You know, he's Hitler. No, he's not. A lot of times they're normal people kind of finding weird ways to rationalize behavior that, again, with the benefit of hindsight and, I don't know, I guess your feet on the ground and not being a out of touch person, you can see are evil things, or are things that manifest evil, whether or not they mean to or not. It's not like people are like actively trying to destroy the world. It's like, there's not like these obvious Thanoses that run around the world. A lot of people, everyone thinks that they're on the good team. Like there's nobody that really, there's very few people, very few evil people that truly think that like, yes, I am literally Hitler. I'm an evil person. I'm here for murder. Like, no, everybody always, they are the good guy. Everyone thinks they're the good guy. And then everyone else thinks the other people are the bad. Like there's not, there's not always an obvious bad guy where it's like all the people are voting. It's like, no, there's always this, no one even knows who's good and bad anymore. And I think that's real where I find it's like, because in the movies, you know, like you're very clearly given, you know, the actors, you know who plays who, you know who the good and bad people are. It's clear. It's obvious. If you don't know, like if you're like debating on whether or not it's a good or bad, you know, I think it's just too morally black and white, you know, and things are too often too clear cut. I think it's probably better, I think, with other superheroes. Again, you don't know, like maybe Batman's more of a moral gray area. I've never even seen Batman, so I don't know. I know that's a sin. I probably should watch one of those stupid movies, but maybe he's a bit of a moral gray area. But even like, I think a movie like The Joker, I think was more of a moral gray area, which is something I'm more okay with than like this Marvel shit or this Disney shit where, you know, so I'm more okay with that moral grayness, but ultimately it's too, I still think that even that evil and good is still too black and white, right? Like we can obviously see why the Joker is the way that he is and why he believes what he believes. And we can in some ways feel vindicated in his belief system because we've seen what he goes through and why he is the way that he is. But does that justify some of his behavior? No. And in the same sense, I think the people he's fighting against also aren't inherently wholly justified in their behavior either anyway. So it's more accurate, I think, true to form to the real world, but I still don't think it's something to be helpful to be, you know, to be modeling or even thinking that the world is shaped like that or exists in that way at all. I don't think it's a healthy, healthy things to consume. I don't know. I'm just anti a lot of that stuff. I don't think it's good for the psyche even. And again, because you don't really know how it's influencing your behavior. Sure, you can, well, no, I'm emotionally detached. It's like, no, you don't, that stuff has influence on you whether you like it or not. You know, and it's not like, well, I know when I see my Facebook elder, I know whether or not it's good or bad. No, you don't. No, it's slowly, you know, it's not so obvious. It's not obviously should go, well, this is obviously propaganda. No, it's kind of, there's a whole science to this. And there's also a lot of that we don't even really understand. You know, we've machine learning models, again, a lot of them are black box models. We don't really know why it creates the associations we do. And a number of those, not even like could be malicious, are malicious. Like they have shown to be malicious in the sense where they get people believing the wrong things or having the wrong kinds of patterns is not good things to have. And so I don't know. I guess bringing this all back to the beginning. It's why I'm a bit more conspiratorial now than I may have been. I don't know, in my youth. Not to say that I'm old now, but I'm not naive enough. So again, doesn't mean there's every conspiracy is, has everything's got some structure. Some conspiracies are just complete bullshit. There's not any amount of justification that you can get that rationalizes it. But to think that there's no such thing as a conspiracy, or like they're all like totally wrong, because now it's even there's like conspiracies and anti-conspiracies, and then like they're all kind of, you don't even know what to believe anymore. It's not even worth. I think it's better almost to just not even have an opinion on most stuff, because I don't even know like what is. They say, well, this is based on the truth. Whose truth? What truth? Like, I know somebody said the other day to me, they said, oh, he's got alternative facts. I'm like, what the fuck does that, alternative facts? What does that mean? How is that even possible? Isn't that antithetical to what a fact is? How is it alternative? How do you have an alternative fact for something? It's like, are there 30 million trees in this, this land, or is there 50 million? It's like, well, the alternative fact, it's like, what the fuck is an alternative fact? Isn't facts supposed to be that there's one of them? Like you can't have a multiplicity of true facts that are explaining the same phenomenon. It's not, you can't have two opposing yet valid explanations for something. That's just not how it works. So I don't even know what to believe anymore, to be honest. And this is mostly in the sense of like topical political stuff, which I don't really care about either. But I don't know, because I feel like I'm constantly berated for my opinion, even though I don't want it. It's like I guess people have nothing else to talk about, which I understand. I know that what else is there to do really but to like look at the news and kind of get mad at stuff, or look at this and get mad at stuff. I guess the only alternative is just to get lost, play video games, and jerk off and watch porn and stuff, which I think is just as abhorrent as not doing anything. There's not really much glory in like, I don't know, doing hard stuff, kind of, learning a craft of some kind and, investing in that, or even investing in some kind of relationships. I guess it's just more fun. It's easier just to, spend time kind of consuming stuff because it's something to do. I don't know. Maybe it's one way of looking at life is it's just, I don't know, it's all just preparation for death. So whatever is, if there's something to do, there's something to do. If that something is, then just debunking and getting mad at conspiracies, or believing all conspiracies and running around trying to convince people of your conspiracies, it's all a waste of time. So I don't know. I think it's only problematic if you're trying to impart like, oh, well, what I'm doing with my time is so important because, this involves, the world or something. Like, who cares? I think it's not, nobody should be able to pass judgment on what people are spending their time or wasting their time doing. I mean, let's say spending their time. Because, viewed in that light, everything is a waste of time. Like, life is just kind of wasting time until you die, which is, I guess, fair to look at it that way. It's not really an optimistic view, but I think it's silly to think that what you're doing wasting your time is more important than what I'm doing wasting my time. It's like you can waste your time making money and gathering assets, just your, divorcing your wives or whatever, whatever you're doing with all your time. You can do all of that, but don't make it seem like I'm wasting my time because I'm doing other stuff, if I choose to write or paint or some bullshit or whatever the fuck I want to do with my time. It's not for you to judge and say, well, it's stupid. Now, again, I think I guess there is some hierarchy of moral goodness and badness with things. But ultimately, I think once you get above like doing drugs and hurting people, again, if it's like a self-sustained activity or not harming yourself or others, at that point, it really shouldn't matter what you're doing. And my issue with money is that a lot of times it's not an isolatory activity. A lot of times it involves fucking other people over, which is why I think it's in some sense more morally abhorrent than, I think almost rather people just do drugs than to fuck people over, in that sense, and not let them, I guess, use their own merits to do their own things. But to act like there's some moral superiority or like, I don't know, making art or learning a craft of some kind, even if it is automated, is a waste of time. Making money is the only moral thing to do. It's like, that's, you're a moron. You're an idiot. There shouldn't be I don't know, moral hierarchy of what's good things to waste your time doing, what's bad things. It's all a fucking waste of time. No, I don't know. Again, to ascribe some value to, I guess, to play devil's advocate to what I just said. I think there is more value in, I don't know, learning a craft and building something, even if it is insignificant ultimately, than it would be to, I don't know, trifle around in the affairs of others or the world in a way that it doesn't matter. No one cares what, you have to say or what you're up to. I don't know, I think that's for other people to bicker about and find their importance. I think there's something a little bit better about making something or doing something for you, or even helping out in your immediate family. I think it's one thing to get caught up in the drama or the politics of, like, I don't know, your local area and trying to get funding for the prison library or something like that. But there is something worse about, I don't know, protesting a Russian government, even though that you've never been there. You've never been within 5,000 miles of there or something like that. I don't know. But again, what other people do, waste their time is fine, but don't make me out to be the villain because I don't care about the dumb shit that you care about. It's all stupid shit. It's all a waste of time. So, I just choose to waste my time reading the classics, perhaps. And so I think that's better, but that's, again, it's my prerogative and it's your prerogative to disagree. So to each their own. I don't know. I guess thinking about the system that we exist in. Hang on, I'm going to make sure I am recording just so I'm not wasting all my time here. Okay, no, cool, I am. Because I would be really mad if I was recording. I wasn't recording. I guess one of the first conspiratorial myths I kind of debunked for myself, in addition to like this just universe where like people get what they deserve, or like we live in this meritocracy. We don't. That's not even close. I think a more analogous thing to or I guess some more explanatory way of saying where we live or what kind of world we live in, or not even world, society really. World is different. The world is mostly unchanged, the physical world. Society is what's changing, and people are changing, not in biological or physical ways, they're changing in other, I guess, neurochemical ways, which is in some way physical, but not really. But I think it's closer now to a lottery system more than anything. And it kind of always has been a lottery system, with stretches of times where things are more based on merit. But I think now, especially, I don't know. I think there was, and I think this is probably never true, honestly, if I'm thinking about this, frankly. There's an illusion that if you got to the top 1% of your craft, or you were like the best in the world at what you would do, you would achieve, again, maybe material success is the way I'll frame it. Again, you might be an alcoholic and die of cardiac arrest or something like that, but you would, if you were the number one dart thrower, I don't know, maybe not even that, but something maybe more significant. You're the best selling writer, or the best writer of some kind. Again, that's very subjective. You would get good things would happen to you because you're the best, right? In the same way, if you were like the best shoemaker of some kind, you would, again, be rewarded for those merits. And even that, like if you were the funniest comedian, you would be rewarded for those merits because you were the funniest. But now I think it's not even that, like, the most talented kind of bubble to the top. I think you're selected. It's a lottery system. You're not, like, even something like that you would think is solely based on merits, like sports. I think might not be true outside of like track and field, because those are like legitimate times. But even like baseball or football, it's kind of subjective who's doing better and who's doing worse. There is a certain element of being selected and not being selected, right? I'm not saying that anyone can go out and be Tom Brady, but I'm sure there may only be one Tom Brady, but there could be like, 5 Colin Kaepernicks or something, 5 people, of equal skills, but it's just, he was given more opportunities. They kind of selected for him. And if you've played, I don't know, kind of bullshit high school sports, you might know that it's like, that is true. It's like sometimes like people that are really good, for some reason the coach is an idiot and doesn't play them and they get fucked. Or they love this one kid who plays all the time, even though he sucks. And so then you end up kind of getting self-selected for getting opportunities, even though, and if it was purely merit-based and if it was more objective, or if there was even a panel of people selecting for, who's chosen, you would be selected. But even something so objective as sports, there's often a lot of subjectivity involved, where it's not, completely merit based. A lot of times you kind of are selected. Sometimes people can be like, you can get fucked over and it doesn't work out, not because you weren't the best, right? It's because you just weren't selected, which is different. And again, even in something like sports, which I think people tend to believe is like, if you were better, you'll play more. It's like, no, that's not even the case. Even in college, in the pros, there are people that legitimately are better. Like if you go watch minor league baseball, there's a lot of pretty much anyone out there you could just plug into the major league roster and they would not embarrass themselves. They're like, there's nothing wrong with them. So the idea that someone comes along, they have a good story, they like them, or their dad is similar, they're going to get them up. And even see that with, I don't know, LeBron's kid. I mean, that's an anomaly because it is LeBron, but like, the kid sucks. But he's chosen all the way through. And I think if you don't think that happens, it happens, at a smaller scale with different sports. I'm sure it's not everything is as big as like LeBron, obviously, but that happens a lot, especially in others. Like it happens in sports and things that we would think is meritocratic, or based on merit. But so it especially happens in things that are much, much more subjective. Like who's the best lawyer, right? Even if you were the best lawyer, are you going to get picked by all the people that have all the money and represent the best clients and be in the best case? No. And it has nothing to do with it. It's like you're just selected. You kind of won that lottery in some sense. And that's kind of way we live now. Even like who is famous, I don't think it's like you're not good at anything to be famous. Like no famous person is even good at stuff anymore. It's like they're just people we've decided are famous, which is weird. Because it's not even like the famous people are the best people. Like, oh, he's the best magician, or he's there's obviously caveats. There's obviously some people that are famous because they're the best at something, but most famous people aren't. They're just like, why is this guy famous? I even think for like actors, it's like, well, he's the best actor. Well, you got picked to act in the movie. Like, we wouldn't even know if you were like this would be the second best in that role. And I'm sure you can make cases where like, oh, well, he would have definitely been the best, but I'm sure there's plenty of actors that if given opportunities, they would have been the star and not, so just, it's a lottery process. It's not even if you are the best, there's no guarantee of success ever. So it is a certain amount of like, I just have to hope I win, which is crazy. It's not really that crazy. It's kind of trivial once you think about it. But I don't know, it's a little saddening to think that even if you were the best in the world at something, you could still just, no one cares. You could still just be a failure, because you just weren't selected. Or you could be the best lawyer, the best whatever, and still, like, you can be the best pitcher in the world. And if you don't, like, no one wants to kind of, pick you as a lottery ticket, doesn't matter. You're like, no one will ever know that you're the best. Who cares? Right, you're not selected. It's not you. They pick somebody else. Sorry, which I guess is a sadder way to live than to think that people always get what they deserve. I don't know. So it's kind of a deprogramming the just universe theory of that people always get what they deserve. They don't. It's all, I don't know. It's kind of bullshit. And I guess it also, people like that though, in some sense, because like I said, the people that are famous aren't the best at anything. They're just famous because we picked them, I guess, or somebody picked them, or Hollywood execs, or whatever. I don't even know why people are famous. But I think it's funner for people. It's like, oh, well, good. I don't even have to be the best anymore. I can like suck and still be famous. That's awesome. Which is fine, I guess. But I think for people that, want to get good at things or want to be rewarded for getting good at things, it'd be nicer for them to be rewarded for being better at stuff than just to be selected. And I think it benefits people who have, I guess, no ambition or a unhealthy kind of ambition or a desire to do things, to then have the ability to get selected for no reason, be famous for no reason, go viral for no reason, or just kind of be selected as, randomness as the reason. And there's always been elements of that forever. It's not something specific to our time period. It's not like I'm blaming the internet for this. It was always like this in every realm of history throughout all ages, from military to trivial domestic matters. Like even, people that get married and who you marry. There's not even like, some of that is luck. It's not like it's like you're the best person for you, you will marry. It's like, no, a lot of times it's like you're just kind of selected and then things just kind of happen. That's the way it is. There's not any secret conspiracy behind any of that. It's just, I don't know, kind of the way that the world's always worked. But I guess people like the kind of gambling aspect of it. So, oh, I can always win. I can always kind of keeps you high. You know, you can kind of you're always on the, kind of one thing away from being selected. And now as it's so global, because on when things were village size or smaller scales or I guess pre instantaneous communication, there wasn't really like there's no point in kind of playing this like universal lottery. Like, oh, I can be selected to be, the next Hollywood star, out of a hat, really. But now because everything's so connected, you kind of can be selected anywhere. So it just gives people more false hope who just, who are just, whereas before they might have just been small towns and all I knew was small towns. They're kind of institutionalized in a tiny little village and they'll never know anything other than that little village. And that's fine. I think it's even better for them, like to not even have grander aspirations. It's not like ambition is always a good thing. Sometimes ambition can be painful and depressing because there's no reason for you to be ambitious. Like it's not always rewarded. Like ambition not everybody can be universally ambitious. Like, you can have thousands of people who want to be president. How many presidents can there be? One. There cannot be 10,000 presidents. So is it useful really to have 10,000 people that want to be president and that you're going to have 9,999 that are pissed that they aren't, and then they're debating on who's the best, it's like, how do you even pick that? You don't. You just kind of pick one randomly and then that's who it is. And I mean, now it's not even close. It's not even a vague meritocracy in terms of something like the president. But I think for sports, it is kind of a vague meritocracy. It's like, okay, these guys are both really good. We kind of like this guy's upside. It's all subjective, but it's still like, if you're a fat 40-year-old, you're not in the running to be the best pitcher in the world. But, if you look at, go watch a minor league game and tell me that any of these guys suck. Like they don't. They're all just really kind of just as good as somebody who would be the all-star and be the face of the franchise. And it's not even that they're the face of the franchise because they're just so selected to be in that sense. And they're given opportunity after opportunity. And then it's kind of this self-selection bias where they, they believe themselves because everyone's always told them and they were selected and they, were given a lot of encouragement. Whereas other people may not have given encouragement. Maybe they could have been successful had they had all the opportunities that the other person had. We won't know, I guess, because you just weren't selected. So I don't know. I guess it gives people hope, but in a way that I don't think is necessarily good. That everyone from a small town in the middle of fucking nowhere can, have giant aspirations. I think it's good for some people just to not have aspirations. Aspirations of grandeur, that is, to be the next best thing or the big famous guy or whatever. I think there's good. It's sometimes good to have people that just think small. And they just, they can kind of be the guy in their village and be that. But now that's probably half the reason people are so discontented now is they were made available to all these aspirations of grandeur. People that you're surrounded by people that want you to want more. It's like you don't always have to want more. I think it's probably healthier sometimes to just not. You don't need the supermodel girlfriend with the giant tits. I mean, you can have. There's nothing wrong with just kind of having, the moderate amount of that. You don't have to be the best of the best. Sometimes it's okay just to just not be the best. There'll only be one best. There's billions of people vying for that one spot. It can get ruthless. And again, chances are you're not going to win anyway. So, but that being said, it's kind of, life is a lottery you kind of have to play anyway. So it's not like, so you can't like not play because it's unfair. It's like, it is unfair, but you kind of still have to do something, you can't not do anything just because it's not fair. It's like, it's fine. It's not fair, but you got to play, and you can play ethically. You don't have to be fucking people over to try and get to the top of your field or something like that, or game the thing. And sure, people do, but I think if they get there, they're not really going to be, even if they do win, it's not really, it's a game. It's still a fucking game. It's not, again, not any more important, it might feel more important if you're the winner, so sure, but it's still a game. Everybody dies, They say life is a long game and nobody wins. Or life's a long race and no one wins, or a short race or something. I don't know the quote, but nobody wins. There's no winners. You all just die, and then, I don't know. Let's see. I guess I can think about means to an end a little bit. So I just wrote means to an end here, and it's interesting that it's difficult not to it's possible now, I think, especially with how ingrained economic and financial incentives are into our world, to think that there isn't always there's always like an exchange rate, so to speak. There's always, everything is kind of this tit for tat. Everything is this free market, invisible hands of the market thing, which is not that, to me, just kind of seems more, it seems weird, but it is, it's fair and it's reasonable to think that you can always kind of frame something in the right of a transaction, right? Even from like the homeless guy giving you, sees me as an opportunity to make, to make money. And again, even if it is it's hard, even in stuff that like isn't transactional, to not be able to draw a transactional relationship out of it, right? Like, so for example, I hold the door open for somebody, but then like, how do I know, like, is how true is it that that's only just, I'm doing it because I don't give a fuck and I might as well just hold the door open? Or if there's like, no, there's some incentive for me, like to be seen as the guy who would open the door for somebody. And it's like, I mean, again, probably in this case, it doesn't seem like, I would say that no, but then of course me answering that would again, make it want to meet a social signal that I'm like a good guy and would be the guy that opens the door for people. It's like everything can kind of be seen as this transaction. Like a homeless person can genuinely need help and not be like trying to like, get money out of me or extort something. And even like having a significant other, right? It's like, well, I love her because whatever. It's like, okay, well then, what do you get out of her? You get the money, you get like this social companionship, and that's kind of worth. And then, yeah, not everything, obviously so much doesn't have a financial component. Like the homeless person obviously has a financial component, but even something like getting married to somebody, in a lot of ways, if you boil it down to this transactional relationship, what is this person getting? What the dude is getting this sexual gratification. There's all this like economics and math involved, and there's not a whole lot of like, I just do it because why the fuck, even things is like, oh, I'm a caregiver, and it's like, oh, you're just doing that because you're nice. It's like a lot of times they get a certain amount of self-satisfaction, masturbatory pleasure in some sense, taking care of somebody, which again is then part of the transaction, and it's not inherently financial. A lot of stuff isn't, but it's hard not to you're able to draw those conclusions out of seemingly any relationship, even benign, all good-natured, positive relationships. You can still kind of draw this transaction. I think significant others is the most obvious example, in the sense where it's like, yes, not every transaction, sure, of course, not every is this financial thing, but then there's always this give and take, and everything can be seen as it's just some means to some end, and there's some price that each, it has to be fair, and there's just they're kind of always jockeying for the fair position, is the, emotional gratification, equal to the financial input to the relationship, and then as a time commitment, it's like, and it's all just kind of this means to an end, which is exhausting to, I think, to view things in that light. So I really choose not to, and I guess I just kind of hope that it's not really what governs all behavior. I hope that there truly is, because otherwise then it's like, okay, well, am I on the losing or the winning side of this transactional relationship? If every relationship is inherently transactional, or every exchange of any kind, idea, or anything is all transactional, then, am I winning? So in some ways you just kind of put the sword down, and I'm not competing for anything. And I don't even care if there's a loser and winner from the clear loser in this quote unquote transactional relationship. I don't fucking care anymore. It's not important for me to be the winner. So it's kind of this unconditional appreciation for things, regardless of whether or not you win. It's even like your legs and your fingers. Like I give them food and I stretch them and work them out, only as a means are they able to help me. It's like, I don't necessarily view it in this, like, I feel like that's the way the pure economist views everything. It's like, oh, well, you only feed yourself such as your body will work and will be able to propel you forward. It's like, what is ridiculous way to look at, your relationship with your own human body. Like, I shouldn't need to, like, I don't know, like jockey for position on whether or not my legs should be, grateful for the nutrients and the exercise. Like, it's not, it shouldn't all be this transaction. It's like all this some means to some end. So I don't know. I guess it's unfortunate to note that as a potential reality of the way things are, as things are all transactional once you go deep enough, or once you think about or frame things in that way. right? Whereas you can just do things for the fuck of it, and there's not some perverse motive for it. So I don't know. Because appreciating things unconditionally is one way to do that, but it's hard. I think gratitude in general is a very, very difficult thing. I talked about this last time, but like, is it even possible for you to truly appreciate your legs or your fingers before you lose one? It's like I don't spend all day thinking about my pinky finger on my left hand, but if I lost that, I'd probably spend a lot more time like, damn it, I wish I had that back, or something like that. And I don't know. It's hard to be grateful for things you don't know what it's like when they're not there. Whether that be people or body parts or whatever, or even like money, sometimes you take money for granted when you have it. So when you don't, you don't even know what it is until it's gone, which is not something I think you can just tell people to be grateful for stuff that doesn't really work. When has it ever worked? Like, it's like just barking at them to be happy. That doesn't work either. It's like they don't know what happiness is until they've been sad or they found happiness in something. I don't know. There's this whole difficult relationship with gratitude that we have as humans that isn't really something that you can just pull out of your ass and do nothing with. So yeah, let's see here. This is a really stupid opinion. This actually isn't an opinion at all. This is just a stupid observation that I'm sharing. So I bought underwear for the first time in my entire life. I've never bought underwear before. I've only ever stolen it from people. This is true, actually. I had a friend that, I guess he always wanted me to sleep over just because, I don't know, we'd lived over at his house, but I stole his underwear. And I've been wearing it for like a decade. So I finally thought I should buy new underwear probably. So I bought underwear and it has pockets, which is insane. This men's underwear has legitimate pockets. Like I can put my phone in it and my keys in it and stuff. It's like, why the fuck would my underwear need pockets? And I imagine the women's clothing now, like even less of it has pockets even before. The pockets are getting so small, they might as well not be pockets. I'm waiting for them to sell a woman's purse that doesn't even have, and like it has a zipper, but the zipper doesn't even open. The zipper's for show. It's a purse that can't hold anything, whereas now men's underwear now has pockets. Which again just seems very strange to me. Like I don't, even as the guy that kind of benefits from having storage, every, pockets are generally deep in men's clothing. It feels weird that my underwear has Why would what am I running around like how often am I in my underwear? Do I need to carry things? It feels strange to get. And I know I was the one who bought them, so it's my, I could have just bought the one without underwear, but, they didn't sell the kind I bought without pockets, so I kind of had to, if I wanted this variety and this brand, I had to buy the one with pockets, which again just feels weird. I don't know if I paid extra for that, which I wish I didn't, because do the consumers really want pockets in their underwear? Like what survey are they taking that men are like, yeah, desperately, I need pockets in my underwear. Like I'm probably wearing shorts or pants or something that has pockets. I don't need them underneath my shorts again. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. It's just silly to me that they, it's just, we're not even questioning. We're buying underwear with pockets now. So I'm an idiot. I'm the one who bought it, So I don't know. They're nice underwear though. I'm not complaining about the underwear itself. It's quality stuff. Yeah, I guess this is another kind of wild, wild thought. I'm kind of riffing off one of my friend's ideas about, he jokingly calls them camps, but I'm not going to call them the camps. But what if we set up like communist communes within our largely capitalist scheme? That way you could kind of exit. And I guess that's kind of what prison is, because prison's kind of a communist thing, although it's not, obviously wouldn't be prison. I'm not advocating for, there's widespread prison. You can voluntarily check yourself into prison, which I think maybe there should be some variety of something like prison where you can kind of check yourself into if you don't, I don't know, maybe it's like rehab or something, like if you're on drugs or if you just kind of want to have a simpler life, or you don't want to have to, you want things to be taken care of for you. You don't want to have to do anything. You don't really want to have to live with money. There should be a place that doesn't have money, like a commune that there's no money, and maybe be government sponsored or something like that. But it's interesting to think of I don't know, that kind of scheme, whereas if it's even possible, I don't know if it's possible to set something like that up. I mean, obviously it's not possible for me because I'm a nobody, but I'm saying it'd be interesting to have like, um, kind of a largely capitalist society on the outside, and then you're able to kind of voluntarily enter into, what I'll say like micro communism. There's small areas where it is communist, it's self-sufficient. Yeah, sure, it's like probably more work, but there's not, you don't have to worry about anything. There's not any like concern in terms of, are you going to have enough money? You're going to be able to, there's no like poverty in that sense. You'd have to have it self-sufficient enough where there is no abject poverty. So people might actually want to live there if it's, easy. And sure, they'd have to, there's a requirement of work and there's work detail and the work's probably not fun. And, it's probably not that bad though. It wouldn't be grueling, but I think it would be possible now technologically to set up a financially self-sufficient camp. Camp is a terrible word. A commune might even be bad too, just because I kind of think of Jim Jones and that whole thing. And I'm not even saying those failed. Those failed on ideological reasons, not necessarily practical ones. I think, again, because if you have some megalomaniac sex addict running everything, of course everything's going to go to the ground because everyone's going to be too busy having sex with the cult leader before they can actually like harvest the crops or something. But if there was, like, if we use technology to aid development of a commune of some kind, and it was self-sufficient, and we kind of had those as, voluntarily places you could voluntarily kind of say yes to and go in for a while, and you can leave, and maybe there's some amount of currency such you can like save up stuff, and then if you wanted to leave and like enter kind of the hyper competitive sphere again, you could. But it would be a way to kind of get around, I don't know, a bunch of people that are homeless. I don't know. There's a lot of the homeless people would obviously go to these communes. And again, it's like prison probably kind of, but it's prison, but there's you work and you get food. You're not going to be, there's no drugs or anything in there, presumably. I don't know if it is, or if it's like the good kind, like stimulants. Like they allow you to have coffee and cigarettes only because that allows you to like, get through the day and work and stuff like that. But it wouldn't be like weed because that is just going to make people do nothing. You need people that are going to be working and doing stuff and, being able. But I think with technology now, it should be possible to have a relatively livable commune that is self-sufficient, financially. It wouldn't need these huge injections of capital. Obviously you need capital to set everything up. You need to like get a tractor in there and somebody can fix a tractor, and that, there's like some amount of education and upfront capital needed. But you would think with all this technology we have, we're really not able to set up, again, some kind of small self-sufficient commune that doesn't need these giant financial injections or some ridiculous overhead. It's like, in terms of just you need to feed people and have something that kind of works. People that can teach the kids that don't want to be in there. I don't know. It'd be an interesting solution for people that are, I guess, very pro-government everything. Like government can control everything, as they could, because then you could have the best of both worlds, right? We'd have the kind of hyper-competitive capitalist thing on the outside, and then the inside. And if you wanted to go to the communes, you could. The camps is another way to call them, but it'd be funny. You're not supposed to call them like the camps is probably a terrible way to phrase it, but you get the point. The point is not that, it's not a concentration camp where we're just murdering people. It's like a prison, but better, It's a voluntarily fun kind of low stakes prison where they're not going to let you starve, but you have a certain amount of like, you got to do work, whereas now, like, you don't have to work really, but like you will starve if you don't work. Like you're not, it's not like they're not looking out for everybody. They're not, I'm just speaking of the good. But I think it'd be interesting to set that up that way. That way we'd have the best of both worlds, presumably. I mean, of course, implementing it would be an entirely different thing. But again, on first pass, that would be the idea, is that the large sphere is mostly capitalist, but then there's like these kind of communes. And it would be technologically enabled. I think the reason we haven't been able to do this like in other time periods is just that, well, presumably the technology should allow us to feed lots of people for cheap. Isn't that the whole point of all this technology, is to be able to do stuff with it? Because think about it, even if we couldn't set up a self-sufficient with the technology we have now, I would argue we've made literally zero progress. We're like no more progress has been made than even from Mesopotamia, for God's sakes. Because if we have all this technology, we're still not able to have something that is roughly self-sufficient, with some domain knowledge about, the electronics and stuff that keeps the thing up. And sure, it wouldn't be bleeding edge tech. It wouldn't be, I'm not assuming research would come out of these communes that would solve, big problems. These would be places for low stakes people to live. Again, it'd be kind of like prison in some sense, but it wouldn't be looked down upon the same way. It wouldn't be criminals there. It'd be people that are fine and just don't want to be, live in the uber competitive world, which I think is fine. Some people aren't as competitive. They don't want to be raping kids and stuff and murdering people for $5. They want a low stakes, which is fine. I think that's fair. Not everyone should have these ambitions of grandeur. There should be a good number of people that just want, they want to be the best, they want to be the librarian in prison. They just want to be, kind of this person who's involved in a small town they like. There's, they don't need to be the president, or the best person on the planet. There's just, I don't know. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there, actually, I guess on my ridiculous commune rant, but it should be possible. I would think, economically there'd be a way to do it. Now, obviously, it can't be prison again, or a concentration camp, for God's sakes, but surely there's some way with all the technology we have to make something like that work. I don't know what scale or even in what country or what time period that even be possible, but presumably it should be something that is possible. Well, not that anyone's going to do that, but it was just a silly idea that I riff off of, and I don't know, maybe there's some merit to it, but anyway, that'll be it this time. Thanks for watching. Peace out.